Hi, everyone. Welcome to UCLAX Film Fest 2021. I'm Lizel Davis, the Entertainment Studies Coordinator, Event Coordinator, and I'm thrilled to be here on behalf of Entertainment Studies at UCLA Extension to moderate today's Filmmaker Panel. We have an exciting lineup of filmmakers whose work is being showcased in this year's film festival. We hope that you've had the opportunity to watch all of the films on the festival website. And if you haven't yet, we'll drop a link in the festival website in the chat. Our conversation today will take place over the next hour or so. Please add any questions that you might have in the chat box throughout the discussion, and we'll address those questions toward the end of the panel. And now I would like to introduce our panelists. We have Gobi Yan here with the film A Poem from Yi Qing. Lance Lau here with All We Know About Ian. Paul Gatto and Kathleen Strauss here with the documentary Champ 5. Raphael Durrani with Hello, My Sweet Boy. And Elizabeth Irwin with The Only Beautiful Thing. Welcome all of you. I'll wait until all of you can appear for everyone to see. We're thrilled to have all of you here. And so, excellent, great. Thank you for joining us. So to start off, I'm just going to have each of you introduce yourself briefly, say a little bit about your film and your role in the film. Maybe we'll start with Kathleen Strauss and Paul Gatto because they're working on the same film together and they can tag team and then we'll go from there.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Strauss. I am the producer and co-director and co-editor of Champ 5, which is about Rita Willie, who was crowned 5-time world's fastest sardine packer. And Paul was on my team along with David Jester.
Hi, I'm Paul Gatto. I was, as Kathleen says, on the team with Kathleen. I was camera, co-filmmaker, dumb muscle for her project. Kathleen by the way, Kathleen, thank you for bringing us into that project. It was a pleasure to work with you. I don't know if I've said that enough to you, but thank you.
Likewise.
Excellent. Now we'll have Raphael Durrani talk about Hello, My Sweet Boy.
Hello, everybody. I'm the writer and director of Hello, My Sweet Boy. It's the story of a bisexual man in his 30s who attempts to come out to his mother who suffers from dementia.
And Gobi Yen, would you like to speak about your film?
Oh, hello everyone, it's Gobi. I'm the writer, director, and the producer of my short film, A Poem from Yi Qing. Hope you like it.
And Lance, would you like to speak about your film?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Lance. I am the producer of film All We Know About Ian. I'm also responsible for cinematography, sound, and After Effects. Also acted in the film a little bit as well. My friend and my classmate, Dami, is not here due to time zone. He's in China. He directed, wrote, and also did cinematography and editing in the film. Hope you guys liked it.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, we'd love to hear a little bit about your film.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Irwin. I'm the writer and director of the short The Only Beautiful Thing, which is a story about a couple who fosters a dog that has a connection to one of their pasts.
Great.
Great.
Thank you. So to begin, I would love to ask all of you, and I know this might not be perfect for a couple films, and we'll talk about that and we'll be more specific, but I'd love to ask all of you about the performances you have in the films. All of you have incredibly memorable performances and or characters in your movies. And I'd love to hear a little bit about your approach to working with actors, and of course, in the case of Champ 5, with your subject in your documentary. We can go, and then I know Lance, we were hoping Danmin could make it, so maybe you can speak to how he worked with actors, or maybe you also collaborated with them, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well. So we can start with Paul and Kathleen, so you guys can talk about just your collaboration with Rita Willie, because I'm sure that was a fascinating collaboration, and then from there we can do a deep dive into your work with your actors.
You want me to go first?
Well, sure. That way you don't have to go
Okay.
after everybody talks about working with in a creative way with actors.
Yeah. Well, we didn't start out to make a film about Rita Willie, and we heard about her along the way, and we had a heck of a time finding her, even though it turned out she was nearby. And when we finally, Paul said this in his interview, we went to the Historical Society, the library. We finally ended up going to the local newspaper, and the receptionist there said, I think her brother-in-law or her son had a subscription, and they found, we left a message and someone called us back. Now at the Historical Society, they knew who she was, but they said, she won't talk to you. We've tried to film her for years and she won't talk to you. So we had a very short window in which to film. We were in a workshop, and I talked to her several times on the phone, but the first time we met her was when we did the interview, because we didn't know whether she would, how long she would participate. So it was a little stressful. I mean, we didn't have a chance to look over all of her memorabilia ahead of time. It was just sort of, here it is, and, film what you can. But it was really great to get to know her. I found her fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. And it feels like, even though it sounds like you didn't really get to know her prior to that, it feels like a very intimate conversation with her. And you see her, I think, granddaughter there on the couch. So it's a really fun, intimate portrayal of a person.
Yeah, that was her great granddaughter, and they let us into their home, and I don't know, Paul, I don't know how you feel about it. I felt like by the end of the afternoon, they were very open with us, and they were very appreciative and interested in how we would tell their story.
I felt that she was very proud of her life in general, but also her work in the sardine industry. I think she was proud that she was able to make money, put food on the table, and as did her husband. So I think that really came through, that her pride in who she was and her history. And when we started interviewing her, you could feel it. It's like, yeah, I did this, and it was really much in her personality. And I mean, it was such a pleasure just talking to her. I'm never going to get this chance again.
Yeah,
sardine packing champs they're out there.
It's true.
Right.
1 in a million. Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. So now I want to move on and talk a little bit about the real collaboration with your actors. And I'll just start with Raphael. Can you speak about Hello, My Sweet Boy, and how you worked with, you have several actors who gave phenomenal performances in your film. And I'd love to hear about how you worked with all of them and cast them together.
Absolutely. Well, the casting process it was a little complicated on my side, because this short film was made in the context of a directing workshop at UCLA Extension. And we had 7 weeks from concept to first cut to do everything. So, and I wanted to give myself a little challenge. And I chose to hire SAG actors. So I went through the whole process with SAG to make it a SAG project. And I was baffled during the audition process by the first casting decision was the mother's character, because she's the one that has the toughest performance to give. And it all went from there. During the callbacks, I actually used the callbacks as rehearsals in a way with the son's character, and they both came together, Brandon and Rosemary, and I had them try out different versions of the scenes, and they had an amazing chemistry. Even right before they came in the room, I actually saw them chatting outside about where they were from and all that, and they were the only ones that had this kind of connection that came to the callback, and that was what made the ultimate decision for casting. And on set, what was really fun was that I had the acting training myself. I went to a conservatory a few years ago, and I wanted to give them the freedom that I wish I had sometimes when I worked as an actor. And at the end of each shot I wanted to take, I had them take I wanted to take an extra shot and ask them, "Do you want to try anything?" And by the end of it, I remember Rosemary actually came to me and say, "Thank you for letting us have fun with it." And actually, most of the final shots that I chose actually came from those takes. So I was very happy just having collaboration with them.
That's very nice, because they feel like you already have it. You know, you feel confident, so they can do whatever they want, and the pressure's off. And sometimes when that pressure is off, that's when you get the best performance. That's a really great approach. Did you ever have anybody do that for you at all as an actor, or was that just a lesson you had?
It happened once, not for film. It was for a one-man play I put on for the Fringe Festival a while back. And I had a director that I had worked with previously direct the one-person play. And he sometimes allowed me to do whatever I wanted. And it felt so freeing to just be able to follow my instincts and follow everything they said back in acting class. I just wanted to be able to give the same kind of freedom to the actors when I worked with them.
That's phenomenal, and especially because in film, you have so little time, and so often people are thinking, oh, the next shot and the lights and the this, and so to give actors that extra time is also kind of a gift in a way as well. So
yeah, it was we actually also had not much time to experiment, even though I really wanted to. We shot all of this in one day, and it was a big challenge. Also, because we lost some time because the owner of the house we were renting for that day came late to the door. So we lost 2 hours right there and then. But yeah, we went back on track, and the actors, while we were waiting, they were rehearsing in their car as we were waiting for the owner to arrive. They worked really well together, and it was all about the chemistry between the actors, really.
that's
Worked really
excellent.
well, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so Elizabeth, I'd love to hear about how you worked with your actors, and one of your lead actors is a very interesting character, your dog. So I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah. So I knew all of my actors. I'd worked with them before on theater projects. But it was my first time directing. And so they were actually like very helpful to me because they knew me as a writer. And so you know, I learned a lot. There's things I certainly would have done differently. But like, it was a very enjoyable process. I think actually like working with my dog was probably the easiest part of it. Even though people think that's would typically be challenging. You know, she's my dog. She's my best friend. I love her. Everything I wrote like knowing that she could do very easily. And she was like, I also know her personality, like her temperament. And I knew she was like, she's just wonderful. Like I knew she would be very happy to be around like lots of people, which she was. And I also knew that like she wouldn't question like, why am I doing this, like, you know, random walk like 4 or 5 times. So she was actually very easy to work with. She's very food motivated too, which was helpful. And yeah, I mean, looking back now, I kind of it just gives me kind of more fodder for like thinking about how would I direct my cast differently. I might, you know, a little bit, as Raphael said, like give them a little bit more freedom, that sort of thing. It was mostly like a very good learning process for all of us.
Well, that makes sense because it was your first film, right? You
Yeah.
primarily wrote for the stage, and it's actually really interesting because I feel like the performances in your film are powerful as performances in film, but it sounds like a lot of them are they primarily stage actors or do they do both?
They do both. They
Okay.
do both. Yeah.
Because they definitely carried off powerful performances in film, even though they also know you from the stage. So that's very lucky to find someone who can transition between the two. The subtlety,
Definitely.
it's a challenging transition. The subtlety is really important in film. That's great. Well, it's always a learning experience, I think, anytime you direct actors, right? But it came together, so that's phenomenal. And now I'd love to talk to Lance. Do you want to speak a bit to working with the actors? I know you are an actor. I don't know if Dan Mean directed you. You acted in it for one scene, which is awesome. But also you had two really phenomenal actors on your snowy shoot. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Hi everyone. Unfortunately, Dami's not here, which he did. He directed with the actors. So I'm gonna speak on behalf of what I observed when I saw him directed the actors. So first of all, we had two phenomenal leading actors, Dave and Emmy. Dave starred as Ian, the main character, and Emmy is Nikiwichi, the live streamer. And we found him online, and Dave is a professional actor, and we love his performance and in his reel. We love how he can express and build his character through his facial expressions, the way he speaks, his words. So jamming allows the actors to have a lot of freedom in their acting. The script, he has a script written, but he gives them a lot of freedom of creativity to rework the lines and whatever feels right at the moment. He will have them do it a few more times with different ways to speak the lines. And it was quite challenging because we only had 1 day to finish off the scenes, except for the YouTuber scene, except for the other Facebook scene, Twitter scene. So we can only do so many times. And we had both actors came at 7 a.m. The location was about 2 hours away from LA, where we lived. And we had filmed until sunset. So both actors were really committed on the top of the mountain, on a sub-zero degree Celsius. I don't know about Fahrenheit, sorry, but it was freezing. And we filmed a day scene, we filmed Emmy scene, and we had them together. They were both freezing, but they were super nice. And we have very low budget, and most of it went to the actors. But we are very glad that I think we had a good investment. They did a phenomenal job. And yeah, I know it's more about the producer's perspective, but yeah, I'm very
that's
happy
fine.
with
That
it.
is your perspective, and I'm happy that you're here to share it. It does sound like allowing flexibility is kind of the way they go, the way you can really bring out the best performances. So I love hearing about that. I didn't mean to interrupt you though. Go on.
No problem, no problem. And yeah, about my own appearance in the film. So Dami just basically give out an assignment to me, and I had to make it in like 2 hours. And because I think it was also it it was a project for his own directing workshop, final project, I think. So he had to like submit it last minute, and I had to do it like a few hours before he needed to submit it. So I had to like come up with my own the lines for like trying to imitate how a YouTuber would speak and would react, and trying to be a little bit extra, a little bit exaggerated, and try to edit as well. So yeah, I'm glad I had a little home studio, and I just like set up, I had some lights set up already, so I just like hit record and then just like freestyle a little bit. And he
It's
had
very chilling. I mean, just seeing it happen is very chilling. The performance is great, and it's not a chilling performance, but in the film, it's a very chilling moment. It's a very powerful moment. So you did a great job.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he also had a few of his friends recorded the reaction scenes at home, and yeah, I think he tries to tell a story that about his observation of the social media era, the culture, the internet culture that he's seen in China and or generally all around the world. And I think he wants, and this happens, I think the story develops from what he has seen in Asian countries. So that's why he has a Japanese friend, Korean friend, and our lead actress, Amy, she is half German and half Japanese. So and she's very pretty. So Deming likes her, thinks she is the perfect actor for this role, and Dave as well. And the dynamic, I love the dynamic of these two actors because they came from very different backgrounds. Dave is American, and so they both have the accents, the way they walk, they talk. It's very different.
It's a nice contrast to it. Absolutely.
Yeah, contrasting.
That
just
definitely
like
works.
Yes, just like the characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ian is like he's a socially forgotten man who just living his own life, trying not to he has not been talking to anybody for months, and Nikki Wichi, the characters, constantly just having her life connected with his fans online 24/7. So it's it's a powerful contrast. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So to transition, I love everything you said. Thank you so much, Lance. I just want to hear from Gobi as well about your collaboration with your actress in the film.
Okay, because actually my actress was one of my classmates. We were in the same acting class, and I know better of her during that class, and she was also why I choose her because she was also in deep depression during a long time back to her like a high school period, because she was moved into LA during her high school, and she was alone. She knows better about my character. She was alone in a different country with no friend, and she was always reclusive herself. So she knows the loneliness of my character a lot. That's why I choose her, because she was also a Chinese, because I like to feature a Chinese girl, because the painter, or even the painter, or the past life, the poem are all Chinese. The character will try to express herself of a ancient Chinese poet. That's why I choose a Chinese character for the film.
Of course, yeah.
Because the point is also portray a sleepwalking kind of a story. So that kind of matched the key message I want to express.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's interesting. It's an experimental film, and a lot of what she did is walk or pose or, just be in the frame and do different things. But I really like that you chose someone who was able to connect deeply with your character and fully understood what you were trying to say. So that's really great. Sometimes the casting is all you need, and then you can go from there and make something very powerful. So that's
Yeah, because
excellent.
she was very dedicated to the film because it's February in LA. It's very cold, and during the whole film production, she was always wearing a very thin shirt and working in nighttime because that's sleepwalking. So she was always wearing very thin things on the street, everywhere. Because we travel a lot. We travel 3 days with only one car, and we're just like we drive and we see a landscape, and I say let's go outside and shoot. And she was just take off all the clothes and go out, and then we just shoot.
Wow. I'm impressed that she had that commitment. That's very intense. So, but the beautiful images, really, really powerful. So
Yeah,
it's a
thank you.
great story. Thank you. Um, so I want to move on and talk, kind of coming off of images, about your visual approach to the film for each of you. I'm interested to hear about your process from initially envisioning your film to collaborating with your cinematographer and then finally putting the finishing touches on it in post. Once again, I know in documentary, your process is kind of defined by what you have, right? And it's so exciting that you found the photos, the Kodachrome photos that added to your film. So maybe we can start by talking with you guys, because although you have to go with what you have, you also really captured the town, and kind of it has like a woodsy feel to it. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about that.
Um, we called the local maritime museum, and they said, someone dropped off a whole bunch of cartons of material. We don't know what's in there, but you are welcome to come by and look at it. So the three of us went over there and put on gloves and just went through boxes and boxes of things, and found newspaper articles, and then Paul, I don't know if it was you or David who found the negatives, the Kodachrome negatives.
I remember them being at the bottom of a box that had mold in it.
Yeah.
No, I'm dead serious. There was mold going on. Ugh. But yeah.
We just got lucky.
Yeah. In documentary filmmaking, research is actually it's a cinematographer's tool, because the more the research going in one direction or another will tell what you have. In this case, going to a museum, we got this archival footage. We went to the Historical Society, they had something. The Maritime Museum had stuff. Rita had a whole wealth of things, but doing that research is what the camera will capture in the end. So research in documentary filmmaking is really a tool for the cinematographer.
You're muted.
Oh, sorry. There are also some great photos of you setting up shots around town, around the town in Maine where you shot, where you're taking a photo of the kind of big statue of the fisherman, or and you really capture the feeling of the space. Can you talk a bit about how you kind of filled out your story with those local images?
Well, we shot mostly on one afternoon, and then we went back and looked at what we had, and David said, let's go back and let's go down to the stage, which was in a parking lot, where the competition had been. So we asked Rita if she would drive down there with us, and she did. And, we just filmed her going up on the stage and describing how it was set up. And I think we just, I wonder what the film would have been like if we hadn't had those negatives. It would have been different. So I feel like we just got really lucky there. She could have described it, but it wouldn't have been the same.
Absolutely. So Raphael, can you talk a bit about how you worked with your cinematographer to tell the story that you wanted to tell and to visualize the film?
Absolutely. So I had a pretty precise idea of what I wanted to convey visually, especially the duality of the mother's character. So when I worked with a cinematographer, we mostly talked about how to better light the character to show her state of mind. Because she has dementia, she responds differently to the same line during the film. And we wanted to show that visually as well. So, for example, at some point she seems actually, it's not a very flattering light because she seems flat. We don't see really the light in her eyes, then it shows her absence. And then later in the short film, we see the light in her eyes, we see the volume of her face. We just see she's present, and we see it visually as well. So when I talked about that idea with Pavel, who's going to be tomorrow at the cinematography panel, you guys should not miss it. He was probably going to talk about that. He knew exactly what to do. So all I had to do is just explain my vision, explain exactly how I wanted to show this character. And he knew exactly what to do. He brought the people he needed to have the lighting that he needed. And he was prepared. I was impressed by the work he put on this short film. And I was very happy to have him on my team.
That's excellent. It's often lighting is just about making people look good or lighting the scene, but you really used it and worked with your cinematographer to flesh out the story and to make it much fuller. So I do love that story, and I'm glad that you were able to collaborate in that way and you didn't have to say too much and he knew exactly what to do. I'm excited to hear more tomorrow. Lance, you actually collaborated with Dan Ming on the cinematography, and I'd love to hear more about your experience shooting the film and how both of you worked together to envision it.
Yes, absolutely. So we only had me and Damien on the set, so it was quite challenging that that we had to take care of the equipment and think about framing, lighting, and all of those things. And fortunately, we had help from great Mother Nature. That the day we had a huge snow, the day before we looked at the forecast, and we decided to shoot the day after there was a huge rain in LA County and Southern California. So we knew that there would be the mountain would be covered in snow, and it was a cloudy day. So so basically, the nature just gave us a huge bounce board and diffusion, and we didn't use we only use natural light. So we just basically racing the clock and try to finish when there was still sunlight. And the rest we focused on our storytelling mostly. And I want to talk about Dami. He was a cinematographer already in China, and he is trying to develop on that and build his skill on storytelling. And I knew that his storytelling evolves a lot around his handheld camera skills. So the handheld shots, like the dialogue shots that focused a lot on the characters. So he did those handheld, and because I that's a big part of how he tells the story. The focus, what he will follow, what he would the camera, the little movements, and that they all contribute to the emotion, the storytelling. And for me, I mostly I helped out doing the riggings. I did the gimbal movements, the tracking shots, and those and the cameras and lenses, the technical parts, and I take care of all of those for him to focus more on the storytelling. So we basically just do whatever we are good at, and offloading each other's work, and it turns out pretty good. So and thanks to like this era, that the technology that we have, so we basically just use its Panasonic S1 that has great stabilization, great B-log, great Kodak grade colors, and we really didn't have to worry about too much with the limited ability resources we had. So I think it wouldn't have been possible for just two guys to do something like this like 10 years ago. And yeah, everything, I'm very thankful that everything just comes together. There are a lot of things to improve on, obviously. A lot of shots that just needs to stabilize so much that it has some wiggles. Like for me, maybe audience would not notice it, but I noticed it. And we had to borrow a lot of lenses from our friends because we didn't have budget, and we used our own. I provided the gimbals, like tripods and everything I could possibly could, and it turns out great. And I'm pretty thankful. Yeah.
Well, you were it sounds like a combination of things. Very lucky to have that snow and to plan that location and know that that was the best time to shoot, and then to have such a productive collaboration between the two of you. It seems like you complemented each other. So that's incredibly lucky. Gobi, can you speak a bit about your collaboration with Joanne Wong, also one of our UCLA Extension cinematographers?
Yeah, because I was trying to connecting her before this panel, because she was traveling. She's now traveling to East Coast, so I think she's on the plane right now, so she cannot join the panel with me. But I like to share something with Joan, because yeah, because we were classmates in UCLA Extension, and she also learned some skills from another school for like a gaffer lighting classes. But what I really like Joanne is she's really passionate about all the works, because we don't have so many cameras, lens. We only have my own Sony Alpha 7S, and only with only one lens. But she has nothing to complain. She was just try to make things happen with the only lens, only camera. The thing is, I really don't like the artificial light, so that's why we always try to find the natural light, the practical lights, like the real lights of the vehicle, the reflection of the moonlight on the lake, because we always try to find some practical things to light the character. Because I think the best way to show herself is from the environment, because she was in that environment. She should be lighted by all the things around her. The only artificial lights we used was in the living room and the bathroom, but I'm not quite like that thing. But in the end, it turns out pretty well, because it's just like a night mood, and I was asking her to really focus on the character's face and the body shape, but because it's a small environment, it's the small living room, it's my my own apartment, so it's not ideal location that restrict us for that lighting condition, but it turns out really well.
Well, I think the fact that it was restricted helped, because she was in a way kind of trapped and restricted and on her own in her space.
All
So
wrong. Yeah.
I thought it was also a nice contrast between being outside and then being in that small space. And, you know, it's interesting. I didn't notice that it was all naturally lit, but now I can look back and think about those images, and it's incredibly impressive that you were able to light everything with natural lighting, except maybe a couple interior locations that naturally would have had some light. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for talking a bit about that. And I'm not sure if Elizabeth Irwin is available right now. Elizabeth, I know you had a really exciting collaboration with your cinematographer. Do you want to speak a bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, my cinematographer had actually was a recommendation from one of our actors who had worked with him prior on a couple films. And, you know, he, unlike myself, this was not his first film. He had done a lot of shorts and features, etc. So he was really a great guide for me into the process. And he, you know, kind of sat down with me ahead of time and, you know, asked me for some references, kind of about like what the feel of it should be, what colors we could be thinking of. And, you know, really just was incredibly patient and kind of even teaching me like how to choose my shots, you know, kind of asking me, you know, why I wanted a certain shot and, you know, giving me different options and then making whatever I had chosen, you know, really committing to that. And, you know, I was, you know, not having made a film before, I was just incredibly impressed with, you know, all the work and kind of tricks and everything else that went into, you know, the lighting and the sound and all of that. And then, you know, in our post-production process, you know, Mara, who is one of the actors in the film, but also a producer, was really helpful to me, along with Jamal, my cinematographer, regarding, you know, editing and what my role could be or should be in that. And yeah, so I mean, it was very helpful to me to be working with a number of people who had worked in film before, and really just kind of showed me all the different ways in which things can be your choice, or but also thinking about justifying that choice. So yeah, I mean, the most helpful thing for me for sure was working with experienced people.
Absolutely. You were incredibly lucky. And I'm not just lucky, I'm sure it came from all of your experience as a playwright and that reputation that allowed you that brought people to both the writing of your script and to your story. And it's incredibly lucky to be able to sit down with a cinematographer like that and have them really listen to you and draw out your ideas. It's a rare opportunity. I think we would all love to have that. And so that's great, because now you're able to go into the next film kind of having a sense of which way you might go or how you might collaborate and make selections. That's really exciting. Really beautiful images. So please pass along my compliments. He's not one of our UCL Extension cinematographers, so he won't be in our panel tomorrow, but please pass along my compliments. So let's see, we only have one question in the chat right now, so I'm going to stick with another question I'm holding on to. We can ask it, and then if anybody else has questions, they're welcome to write. This is a very short question because it is exclusively for Lance. Sarah Shaw wanted to know, what were the challenging parts of the social media part of the film? And was most of that worked on in post? You can talk maybe about why you decided to add those social media pieces, which maybe some people don't know.
Oh, hi, Sarah. Thanks for asking me a question. A little bit surprised here. The social media part is actually one of the most important parts to finish this film, because we originally planned to shoot entire story within a week or so, but we had to stop filming and only have 1 day of footage due to the COVID-19, the shutdown in LA. So we filmed this one day before the mayor announced the shutdown. So that's what we had, and we need to come up with something else. We already had the stories in mind, but we had to have extra footage to make up to what it is right now, about 14 minutes or so of the film. So Damien reached out to numerous of his friends and to me as well, and to try to film whatever we had. We just came out. For me personally, I just came up with my own lines and used my own Sony camera at home, and try to be a 1-minute YouTuber here, and Damien didn't know what I would come up with. I didn't know what I would come up with, and I think it's the same. It's mostly the same for the others, and just use their own language and try to act, and so I edited my own part with the subtitles and recording the sound, everything, and basically just gave it to Damien, and I had about 2 hours, and because he needs to submit his assignment for his finals, and yeah, and then I think he added the effects for the YouTube page, the Facebook page. I did the Nikki Witchy's live streaming effects. Yeah, so it was quite challenging that we had to be super creative with the resources we had. Yeah.
In a way, you transitioned one story, right, that you had into an entire, well, you used that story, but you had to complete a story with what you had during COVID. So COVID really did kind of influence the story you ended up, or the film you ended up producing at this time. You may, it sounds like, raise money and finish the story, but the social media really allowed it to come full circle and tell a story on its own. And that's
Yeah.
a pretty exciting story about the effects of COVID, and I think it worked well. So that's a really exciting thing that came about. So let's see, there's another question here for how all of you worked with your composers. How much material did they have to work with? Were they involved from the beginning or only once the picture was locked? Yeah, why don't we start with Raphael?
Sure. I'll answer very fast. I did not have a composer, but I had a music supervisor. So how I worked with her is that it was after picture lock, when we had the first cut of the short film. I showed it to her and asked I told her where I would have some music cues probably, and then she sent me some examples of what she would envision. Like she sent me Spotify links to tons of songs that she saw could work in those moments, and we narrowed it down little by little, and then we found a website where we could buy some of the tracks that we looked for, and we got the rights. It was a very, very easy process working with a music supervisor. I don't have the experience with a composer yet, but I'm looking forward to it one day.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's nice. I think often filmmakers will pour through Spotify themselves and get the rights to several things and try them, but it's really nice to have another person who has that focus on music to do that. So it's
Exactly,
exciting.
just having someone that has the knowledge and the sensibility, it helps a lot.
Kathleen and Paul, how did you work on the music for your film?
We didn't have a composer. We found our own music on, I think, Free Music Archive. But then when we decided to, because we made this as part of a workshop, and then when we decided to submit to festivals, we went back to those artists and negotiated, a small fee to be able to use their music.
Oh, great.
We're lucky that our co-filmmaker Dave Jester is also a musician, has a knowledge of music, so it did help in in the long term.
It's nice that the three of you co-directed it and you were each able to rely on your strengths to make a full film. So a really beautiful story of collaboration.
Yeah, we all
Yeah, this was my first film, so I was very lucky to have Paul and David join, and I think we brought different strengths to it. I mean, I think we all would love to reshoot it, because I think it succeeds on story, but there are some technical issues there. But yeah, we really did, and we had never met before. We had never met before this workshop, so I'm pretty proud of what we put together in a short time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's exciting that you were able to complement each other in that way, having just met. So that's great. So Lance, why don't you speak to the music in your film? It's really powerful, very memorable.
Oh, thank you. I didn't choose this music. Damien chose it. Honestly, I don't know where he got it from, but maybe some loyalty-free websites probably. It's not much to say about it, but I personally really liked it. So we both worked on. He edited the film, but we kind of go back and forth with how the cuts, where the cuts happens, and the rhythm and the shots, is it connected or not? So I really care about how music integrate with stories, because I was a dancer and I film a lot of dance films. I really care about the rhythm, whether or not the image connects with, merges, mixed well with the music. And I think the outcome worked well, in my standard, and I think he loved it as well. So yeah, I appreciate that you loved it, and everybody who loved the film. Thank you.
Absolutely. Gobi, did you work with a composer?
Actually, that's not a composer thing, because I was using a song called "Dreaming of Home and Mother." That's a very the composer actually died over 50 years, so the song has no copyright. But I asked my actress, she was playing a Chinese instrument called zheng, and she was using that thing to play that music, because I like that song, because before I go to the production side of the film, I was always thinking of using that song for the film. So it's always about dreaming. So it's a beautiful song. So that's why I asked her to play for me during post.
That's amazing, and that's nice. It's in a way, you're making a film about a second life, or why am I thinking past life? And so you're using a song from the past as well. Maybe it creates a dreamlike feel, but it also speaks to the past. And so that's a very nice selection. So I just want to say really fast to Bella Erdos, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. You're the one who asked about the composer. I'm going to venture a guess that you might be one of our composers at UCLA Extension. And I just want to say that a lot of our filmmakers have used composers. You just kind of, yes, you are. You just kind of happened on a panel that maybe didn't have that, but please come to the networking event and meet our filmmakers, because I can say that they're all probably ready and excited to work with a composer on their next film. So we always like to have film composers at our networking events. Did you have something, Kathleen?
Yeah, Liza, I would like to ask Bella, as a composer, would you like to be involved at the beginning of a work, or would you rather see the completed piece and talk to the director at that point?
Hi, hello,
Hi.
hello everyone. Yeah, thank you for the answers. It was really great to hear as well. I mean, useful information for me to know these. To answer your questions, yes, I mean, ideally that's a dream job to be involved at the very beginning, maybe after having a script. So maybe not the very beginning, but after the script. To sort of get the idea of the concept, because for me at least it's even if I don't start writing immediately, it's good to have it in the back of my mind, the idea, to let it sink in sort of, and then when it's time, when there is the picture actually is locked, or there are scenes, it's nicer to work with it really. So yeah, that's a great thing to be involved at the beginning, but it rarely happens, I think. I don't know, actually.
I can think of some instances that I've heard of it, but yes, it is very rare.
Yeah.
And it's a very lucky thing. Well, thank you, Bella. Is it Bella?
Thank you. Yes, yeah, Bela.
Bella, thank you for joining us momentarily. I just have, we're at time, so if anyone has to take off, I understand, but I do want to just take a moment for each of you to say very quickly what you're working on next. I feel like that's an important thing to sign off with. Paul.
Okay. Right now I'm in research pre-production into a documentary about cancer survivors. When I was down in Maine with Kathleen and David, I had some time to talk to two cancer survivors. One is a friend of David Jester's, who is a fireman who has survived cancer. And the other one is a photographer, and his name escapes me, though he's well known, who also has survived cancer. Both of them were told, you're not going to make it, and both of them are still here. And the photographer has told me, you know what? I thought I was going to die, and they were going to bury me with my cat. Well, the cat's dead now, but I'm still alive. So the cat's in the freezer waiting for me. So that's my next project, is cancer survivors. It's a documentary called The 4%.
That's exciting. Thank you. We'll keep our eyes out for that, our eye out for that. And Raphael, why don't we go with you next?
Oh, well, I have quite a lot on my plate at the moment, but the project that might happen the fastest is a web series I'm working on with my screenwriting friends. We developed a little web series about what it's like to walk in LA, the city where no one walks. So it's all about following the routine of this one character and the encounter she makes on her way to work, back from work, and the weird things that happen in between.
That sounds very quirky and fun. Please let us know when that comes out so we can watch.
Will do.
It's exciting. Gopi, what is your next project?
I'm still thinking about my topic, because it's always changing. Because the climate change, change, the environment change. I'd like to feature something to have people notice our Mother Earth, because it's really crucial that we try to save a lot of things for the Earth, but seems like we did even worse on it. So I'm not sure. I'm still thinking. It's always changing, but it has to be something related to the environment. Yeah.
You're starting with an important theme, and the story or the experimental film will come. Let us know when it's finished, and please submit it. We're excited to see it. Kathleen, what's next for you?
I'm working on a couple documentaries, and also I'm working on my another project, which with a writer that I met on the 48-hour film project. So we're going to be working together. So that would be another narrative film. So I thought I was sticking with documentary, but we'll see how that goes.
So for the narrative, can you give a log line or is it still too
No,
early?
it's too early for that.
Okay, okay. Well, keep us updated. We're excited to hear.
Thank you.
Of course, yeah. Lance, what are you working on?
I am working on a few projects. One of them would definitely be the continuation of this film that, as you may already know, that we did not get to finish it due to COVID. And so we are actively trying to raise money and seek talents to join us as well. We hopefully next year we can get to finish this film and hopefully bringing more funds that we can get this far with little to no budget, and what could happen with more resources that we would have. So that's what I'm super excited and looking forward to finish this dream. Yes.
Yeah, exciting. I'm excited. It feels like such a complete story right now, your film, but I'm excited to see what else you envision because I'm sure it will be interesting and hopefully surprising, just as surprising as your film is now. So, okay, well, with that, I'm so glad I got to hear about all of your upcoming projects. And with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up our discussion. Thank you so much to Gobi, Lance, Paul, Kathleen, Raphael, and Elizabeth, who left us. I guess she texted me personally to say she was heading to a wedding, so sounds very exciting. But it was a pleasure to have her as well. And thank you to everyone for joining us.